Welcome to EoZ TV. Already I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, so I apologize. Because what just showed up on the screen does not appear to be what should have showed up on the screen. So hopefully you can hear me, because if somebody tells me you cannot hear me, then I will have to scrap this and try it again maybe in an hour. But meanwhile, here is the news, and I'm sorry for that things aren't professional yet, but we're trying to get there. Anyway, welcome to EoZ TV. I wanted to talk about a few stories today, and we'll see what happens. But again, I would like this to be interactive. If you have anything to say, any comments, just put it in the chat window, and we can talk about it. There was an interesting story that came out yesterday. Rosanna Arquette issued a tweet. It was the Daily Wire had it. I had a comment on the tweet. She said, and it's a little hard to see over here, she said, "I'm still confused. So Israel has been working on a coronavirus vaccine for a year already? So they knew. Vaccines take a long time to know if they're safe. And Kushner Oscar is the major investor in the new vaccine that is supposedly coming here. Lives at risk for profit." So what she essentially is saying is that Israel knew about the coronavirus ahead of time. It's set up to create a vaccine ahead of time so it could make lots of money. Yes, the greedy Jews were ready to make money off of the off of this virus, and so they created the virus just so they could make money off the vaccine, which is as much as a reprehensible statement as you can imagine. And everyone jumped on her for it. Again, it's a nice article at the Daily Wire where people shows the people's reactions to it. My reaction is there as well. I said, hey Rosanna, you really need to stop tweeting right after reading Der Stürmer with your morning coffee. It was crazy, and she noticed it, and she apologized. She said, "I'm sorry I've offended my Jewish family and friends in Israel with my negative, careless words. What can I say except that I'm sorry? We're all in a lot of fear right now. There's so much toxic, misleading, confusing information. I am sorry." That's not really an apology. She's not apologizing for what she said. I mean, she tweeted an entire conspiracy theory blaming Jews, and now she's just saying that sorry if you were offended. I'm sorry I offended you, but she didn't say that she disagrees with anything that she said before. And how do we know? And then also she added this. Also she goes, "Oh, I'm not anti-Semitic. I was born to a Jewish mother. Some of my best friends are Jewish." She said, "Israel is ahead of us in the vaccine for a year. That's all. That's what I said. I give to Jewish family services. The Holocaust Museum honored my husband." So, okay, there she's trying to put her pro-Jew credentials out there. But what's interesting is that earlier this year, she has another tweet that was also a blood libel. She tweeted, "Israel floods Gaza farmlands with wastewater." And then she's quoting the Palestine Information Center, which is Hamas. And this is these are the people that say every year, although they quieted down for a couple of years, these are the guys that say every year that Israel has dams in the Negev desert that they purposefully open in the flood season in order to be able to flood Gaza. This has been debunked. It's completely insane. It's a complete conspiracy theory. And Rosanna seems to like conspiracy theories. I don't know how else you could really look at this. She's, this is, if it was just the one time, okay, maybe, although I know the coronavirus one was pretty evil. I can't imagine even forgiving her, although a couple of prominent Jews and organizations seem to do that. But this is a pattern. This is nuts. This is, saying, here's another conspiracy theory that she said, that she tweeted out only a couple of months ago, saying that Israel purposefully tries to, destroy Gazans and destroy their lives. It's crazy. And like we just got the statement, David Littman just commented, you say something bad and then you apologize, and then that's the Twitter way. And it's true. That's what people do. They say, "Oh, I make an apology, everything's okay." This was not okay, and this is a pattern. I was looking through her stuff. She the other conspiracy that she has is that some of the people surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein case. She says, I bet they're hiding in Israel. She said that a number of times last year. So this is a pattern, and it's really, really hard to say that you can accept her apology when she does stuff like this. And also, in case you're interested, the story, not here, but the story about the Gaza flooding was debunked by none other than AFP. After a couple of I think AFP had actually parroted the story back in 2015. And everyone, in Israel just said, come on, we hear it from the Palestinians. We don't need to hear it from a major news agency. And to their credit, AFP actually went to Gaza, and they actually covered the story. You can listen to a few minutes of it here.
An Israeli blockade. Many here believe Israel causes the flooding by opening a dam on the other side of the border. Their conviction is backed by local authorities who issued a statement reiterating claims that Israel is to blame.
Every 3 or 4 years, there is a war in this country. But right here, the war is in the form of devastating floods.
A trip to the Israeli side, however, shows that no such dam exists. What does exist here in Nahal Besor is a low stone structure barely a meter high next to a shallow concrete channel, which is sometimes referred to as a diversion dam. It's built to extract water for irrigation.
And then they go on and describe how there's, this is clearly not a dam, and this expert is going and saying it would be impossible for us to stop the floodwaters if we wanted to. He says, he once saw a truck that was caught in the floodwaters that was looking like a matchbox car, the way it was tumbling over. So it's a complete lie, and Rosanna Arquette, it's already established a pattern. We can't really believe her. The next thing that we want to look at, sorry, here that is again. Here was another video that I found today on Facebook, and it was a very nice video. I mean, we've all seen by now the videos of people singing in both in Italy and in Israel, singing off of their balconies. This is a slight variant of that. There was a 98-year-old grandfather whose birthday was today or yesterday, and his granddaughter took a PA system and some balloons and went outside his apartment, because you can't go into the apartment, and sang happy birthday to him. I thought this was very very nice.
היום יש יום הולדת לסבא שלי, השכן שלכם. מזל טוב! אנחנו אוהבים ונשלח לך הרבה בלונים.
At any rate, it was very, very nice, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing more stories like this coming up. There was something that I just saw in this past hour that I thought was really interesting. This is from Mondoweiss, of all places. He had an article that was just published. Somebody named Ahmad Albaz published it. It came out a couple days ago. I hadn't noticed it. This is a new theory that the anti-Israel people are trying to do. They're trying to make it sound like, Israel doesn't care about the Palestinians at all. They want them to get coronavirus. They're going to make the situation awful for them so that they all get infected. It's clearly not true. If you actually look at the Israeli media, you'll see that Israel is working very closely with the Palestinian leadership, as well as with Hamas or with the Gaza leadership, in order to be able to make sure that there is no breakout. It doesn't help Israel at all to have a breakout in the Palestinian territories. They are the ones that would end up overcrowding Israeli hospitals, because that's where they'd end up having to go for treatment, because their hospitals wouldn't be good enough. It would be a disaster. It would be a disaster in many, many ways. And Israel doesn't want people to die. It's crazy. I saw earlier also, and maybe we'll go over it. I had an article about people using the coronavirus, the Palestinians using the coronavirus as a way in order to try to pressure Israel to release terrorists from prison. Over here, we're seeing that this is, again, Mondoweiss is trying to say that, the checkpoints is always a go-to story for them. They would always say, the checkpoints are so horrible and they're so crowded. And so now he's trying to use an excuse of saying that the checkpoints are going to be, are places that coronavirus can spread. So even over here, he says, they commute to their workplaces. They line up in crowded, narrow metal barred lanes at Israeli checkpoints before dawn. Now, Israel has done a great deal in order to fix this problem. The Kalkandia checkpoint has been modernized. It looks like any airport right now. It is, people speed through it. So they chose a checkpoint that was a little bit older, of the old-fashioned ones. However, if you look at the video, you'll see that it is, first of all, they're not crowded, and the people that they interview say that they're not crowded. Secondly, it's like, it's outdoors, so it's not as much of an issue. And thirdly, they pass through it as fast as they can walk, this checkpoint. There's no waiting for a minute or two. They are passing through this checkpoint faster than you would ever go through an airport checkpoint. They put really dramatic music behind it, saying how terrible things were. They need military permits to go into another country. They've not changed security protocols.
بالنسبة للعمال منعوا العمال فوق ال 50 سنة يدخلوا على إسرائيل. وهذه نسبة كبيرة زي ما أنت شايف في المعبر.
Those are the people that are the higher percentage of
الحمد لله يعني ما في ازدحامات
Here he says it's not very crowded. That's what helps us feel safe. He's saying the exact opposite of what Mondoweiss is doing. So, yeah, they're barring the workers over 50 years old because they want to, that's the abundance of caution. But look at how fast these people are going through the checkpoint. There's like the only view they have on this video of people being crowded is when they're lining up in the morning to go, before it's opened. And nobody says that they have to line up right one after the other. They could keep 6 feet between themselves as they wait in the line. There's nothing that Israel's doing to keep them crowded. The only people that keep them next to each other are the people that are, anxious wanting to go to work, and they're crowding in order to get to the front of the line. The story is completely contradicted by what the video shows, which was, that's Mondoweiss for you. The people that read it don't read it critically. And when you point the stuff out to them, they ignore it. Of course, he's never going to, they're never going to answer this, what I'm saying over here, because they know it's true. They know they edited this video in order to, with the dramatic music, in order to make it sound like, oh, things are terrible. Ooh, here they are. Here they are in the morning. Here they are lined up. Nobody's putting them to be lined up that way. It's, that's... They could easily separate themselves if they were really that concerned. But it is outdoors, and and if it turns out to be a problem, Israel would probably do whatever it could to fix it. So, crazy, crazy stuff. Anyway, as far as any other stories are concerned, there's this one I thought was really interesting. There's Human Rights Watch, this was not their fault, except that they quoted something which was, they should have been a lot more skeptical about. They quoted a World Health Organization report which said, the Syrian government maintains there have been no confirmed cases of coronavirus in Syria thus far, but its neighbors have all reported cases, and it's clear how catastrophic even one case in Syria's overcrowded prisons would be. Their thing was about the prisons, but it's a lie. Syria has coronavirus. Syria has had hundreds of cases of coronavirus. There's a, but the funny part is that Human Rights Watch linked to a Syrian news agency report about this, in which they said that since the World Health Organization quoted their officials as saying there was nothing, they said, oh, that proves they're quoting us saying there's nothing. Therefore, that refutes the news that was posted on social media saying that there was infections in Syria. But of course there was. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights last week said that there were outbreaks in Damascus and Tartus, in Latakia and in Homs, and that there were just certainly some deaths. And the doctors that they spoke to admitted it, but they said, you can't quote me. I'm sorry. You know, if we say anything about it, we can get arrested. And in fact, they were. There was this one Chicago doctor who was originally from Syria, who's been following this closely, said that as far as he knows, there's been nearly 2,500 cases of coronavirus in Syria, 427 deaths, which would make it, I believe, the fourth or fifth highest death rate nation of all. But they're hushing it up. That's what they do. But Syria, in fact, has detained doctors who admitted that there were cases of the virus in Syria. And the story that I had right after that, the story that I had after now, I'm sorry, I'm just reading the comments. Again, feel free to comment, even though it might be a slightly behind. There's probably a 10 or 15 second delay for what you're hearing from what I'm saying. So keep that in mind. So the other story that I mentioned over here in the same vein is that Egypt started literally threatening anyone who said that the virus is anything more than what their official state, their state information service said, which is, again, this is nuts. Everybody wants to know the truth. In a time of this is a true crisis. It's a true catastrophe. We need to know the truth. If you're going to have to figure out what nations have to be, you have to, have airline restrictions on or travel restrictions on, you need to know what's going on. What happened was, and the thing that got Egypt so upset, is there was a study which is about to be published in the Lancet Journal of Infectious Diseases that showed, hey, Egypt said that its rate of viruses is X. However, we have seen from people who traveled from Egypt to other countries that it was a much higher percentage. Therefore, we think that here is what's more likely, the number of cases. Now, again, Egypt probably hasn't been testing it. This is just an estimate. And the person that was the author of it said, the study said it could be as high as 20,000. He thinks it's probably on the lower side. He thinks it's probably closer to 6,000. But still, this is important information. It's information that Egypt should take seriously. Now, the reason they're not is because, again, just like Syria, there's this idea of shame, saying, oh, if we have the disease, then it's shameful and it makes us look bad, and therefore we don't want people to know that. This is part of obviously everybody has a little bit of shame to here and there, but when you're talking about human lives, this honor-shame society paradigm is not a very good one. This is one that actually could hurt people, and it's dangerous. It's literally dangerous. So it's stuff that we should really be, that they should care about, and there should be pressure. Whenever you see this sort of honor-shame dynamic, the only solution to it, and unfortunately the West hasn't learned this yet, is that you have to shame them more. You have to publicly point out, hey, this is something that's important. This is life and death, and you're caring about how you look or whether your statistics are okay. If you really cared, then you would be double-checking everything and answering the questions that people bring up on their merits. You clearly can't do that. Other stories from today that I spoke about. Oh yes, this is what I mentioned earlier. Again, Palestinians will use any excuse in order to try to get their political goals. One of their political goals for a long time has been that Israel releases all of the prisoners, which includes, of course, terrorists. So now they're using coronavirus as an excuse. And they're saying, oh, the prisons, Israeli prisons are terrible, and they have to be, they should be released. No questions asked. Every prisoner should be released in order to save their lives. Now, again, there is no case, as far as I know yet, of anybody that's in an Israeli prison getting the disease. I've seen the Palestinians claim that there was a doctor who ended up having it, that he treated some people, but as far as I know, nobody says that they had it. Beyond that, they're going in, and they're going to the World Health Organization, and they're going to the Red Cross, and they're saying, oh, the prisoners are crowded and they don't get medical care, and this is all garbage. Whenever there's a prisoner who does die from some cause, a pre-existing condition or heart disease or something like that, they all claim, oh, this is evidence of medical negligence. And it isn't. Israel puts these guys into hospitals. It gives them better care than they would get otherwise. And here's just something, and again, it's hard to know what things look like right now. This is about the year 2010. There was, before Israel really cracked down on prisoners having phones, prisoners, some of them in Israeli prisons, actually had Facebook pages. And this was an expose from an Israeli newspaper. Here's a guy in his cell showing all the food that he made. Now they're claiming, oh, we're not allowed to make food and all this stuff, all these other sort of stuff. Here's the food. The prisoners themselves made this food, and it's a whole feast over here. It might have been for a holiday. It probably was. And here it shows them, eating in a different thing, a communal food thing over here. Again, this is a few years ago, but gives a far better indication of what's going on. These are literally pictures taken inside the prison. So, don't tell me about overcrowded conditions or anything like that. Here's what the prisons look like. They wear their own clothes. They make their own food. They can clean their own cells. They can, this is not a horrible, horrible situation the way they're trying to make it. So it's just politics. It's all politics, as everything else. Also, and this is a number of years ago, so I'd have to redo it, I once looked at how many prisoners have died in Israeli prisons, and I compared it with the death rate for regular Palestinians of the same rough age groups. And I found that their odds of dying in an Israeli prison are much less, significantly less, than if you're just a Palestinian free walking on the streets of Ramallah. And so, the idea, they'll say, oh, 177 prisoners have died since 1967. I don't know if that's the exact number. It's something like that. Maybe it's 180 now, whatever it is. And that sounds terrible because they'll say the number 180 dead prisoners. But if you compare that to the number of prisoners that have been there and what their death rate naturally would have been, it's far less. More of them would have died, whether it's from traffic accidents or whether it's from medical reasons or anything like that. Anyway, anyway, I'm just looking again at the things. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. If anybody does have any comments or questions for me, I'm happy to. And again, I can interactively bring up web pages to try to find answers for you. But I would like to make this more interactive. I do wish that I didn't have this 10-second delay. But if you do have anything, I'll wait an extra minute or two. If anybody has anything that they want to ask me, or about whether it's about the blog or whether my opinion of something I haven't spoken about, or anything like that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions and perhaps go off on long tangents. And if not, we can call it a night. And I do have plans. I'm hoping. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this live stream. Right now, there's about 8 viewers, which is not a huge amount. I would like to be able to obviously raise that, but of course I also have to make this more professional, which is, again, every other podcast, they make it professional behind the scenes and then they bring it out. I like to sort of, do things in real time and get more accomplished that way. So so that's the, so if you have any questions, it'd be nice to work on that. Bacon Eater, yes, one of my oldest friends from the very old Yahoo days. I did not watch The Plot Against America. I read a couple of high level of the reviews of it. I mean, I know the Philip Roth book. I have my own problems with Philip Roth to begin with. And I obviously from what I understand, the show is an attempt to be able to take that book and apply it to the Trump administration today, but unfortunately I did not watch it. Do I sound younger? I do sound younger than I am, though. I'm not, I'm not 2,000 years old, as I say on my business card. However, I'm not, I'm not tremendously young. I do have my own fears about the virus at my age, and I'm not quite yet 60. but I am, it's coming sooner than I like. So, but yes, that's where I am right now. And thank you very much, Michael, for the compliment. I'm glad that I am not unlistenable. That's a serious compliment. If anybody else has anything to ask me, I will wait another minute. If not, I will cut this. I will say goodbye, and we can try it again some other time. Again, whether it's daily or weekly or something like that, that I haven't figured out yet. But it is a fun thing to do, and especially during these times, anything that shows, that helps you connect with anybody else in any way is a good thing. So, okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So, if that is the case, I am going to say goodbye. Thank you very much, and hopefully we will do this again soon. Goodbye.